Story 1. Once begun is half done. I am a terrible procrastinator by nature. I have totally done the well. Now it is 5:02, so I have to wait until 6 o'clock to start cleaning. And I like making things seem like so much work that I can't possibly do them unless I take time off of work. In reality, if you just start a project without thinking about it, you can get everything done in about 15 minutes a day, and it's never really that bad. Story 2. This too shall pass. On those days when I just feel like I can't take it, I think of that, and I know tomorrow will be different. Someone once told me, tomorrow may not be better, but at least it will be different. In a strange way, that too is comforting. Story 3. My therapist told me the next time I'm gonna have a panic attack to just give in and tell myself it was okay to have one. I told him he was crazy. After a couple of tries, it started working to my amazement. I haven't had a panic attack in 3 years. Story 4. My grandfather told me this, and I never understood it until I had my own place. Always buy the cheap tools at first, and if you wear them out or break them, then you use them enough to justify getting a nicer, more expensive one. Story 5. Keeping my shoulders back was a suggestion I saw for preventing panic and anxiety. I do not know what it is, but when your shoulders are in that position, it gives some strange feeling of control. I also read somewhere that during panic attacks, the body basically wants to curl into a fetal position for protection, so I feel like focusing on keeping your arms down and shoulders back is a conscious way to go against that and stay grounded in reality. It works for me, it could work for you too. Story 6. That forest app. It grows a tree for up to 2 hours, and during that time, you can't access any apps you think will distract you. If you want to open a distracting app, you have to kill your tree. All your trees, dead or alive, appear in a little forest. I have always had trouble motivating myself to focus on homework and not look at Reddit or YouTube, but this app is just enough guilt to not open them. I haven't killed anything yet, and I'm surprised at how much I care about a small virtual tree. People told me about it, and I assumed that I'd never use it or it wouldn't work for me considering how distractible I am, but it works wonders. Story 7. My dad always told me, ask anyway. The worst they can say is no, when buying something or when I needed something from another person. It seemed stupid to ask if I was sure they would say no, but I was also a socially anxious kid. It turns out that advice has helped me with school, with raises, with people in general, and with plans with new friends. Story 8. There's what you need, there's what you want, and there's what you can't afford. My dad says this all the time, and I never thought of it as useless, I just never used it. Now I have, and my money is far easier to manage. Story 9. If you can tell that someone is going to hit you, tilt your head down. Teeth don't grow back. Your jaw is fragile. If they punch the top of your skull, they will probably break their hand. Always be cautious. Story 10. Your gums bleed when you floss because you do not floss enough. Turns out if you floss enough, your gums will not be inflamed, so they will not bleed when you floss. Story 11. For gamers, play games that have a beneficial away-from-keyboard element in-game. Then whenever you need to do some away-from-keyboard stuff, spend the time it takes cleaning your house. Started playing Black Desert Online on Xbox. My house has never been cleaner, and I'm doing it so regularly that it's becoming a habit. When I'm all caught up, I nap. It's like I tricked myself into taking care of myself and my place with games. Easily the best life change I've made this year. I'm productive in-game, at home, and I'm well-rested. 10 out of 10, highly recommend. Story 12. Do not suffer future pain. In other words, worrying about all the things that could happen stops you from doing things and, worse, turns potential pain into actual worry and mental pain. Story 13. Exercising helps with depression and anxiety. It's not a cure-all, and I needed to be on medication to get to the point where I could do it, but it really does help me. I've been off my medication now for over a year, under doctor's supervision. Don't stop taking your medication unless you consult your doctor. And when I can't exercise for a few days, I can feel the depression and anxiety coming back. Now, instead of going through a million things I did wrong in my head, I run for 3 miles or lift some heavy weights. Story 14. Fans on my old MacBook died. I saw a YouTube video that said to simply take your fist and bang on the part of the computer that housed the fans. Thinking it was a joke, I gave it a shot out of pure frustration, and lo and behold, they purred back to life, and I never had another issue with them for the rest of the time that I owned that computer. Story 15. As someone with a phobia of needles my entire life, I finally, after 30 years, had a nurse tell me to ask for a spare alcohol pad and sniff it right as I am about to get jabbed. She said the harsh smell is enough of a distraction to keep your mind off the needle. I was there for a flu shot, so I got to try it out right away. I wasn't expecting much, but it worked. I have been doing it ever since and have no trouble with shots or blood draws now, which is huge for someone they've triggered panic attacks and near fainting in before. Hoping this helps everyone as much as it helped me. Explain it to the nurse who is doing your shot or blood draw too. I always do, in hopes that they will remember and use it next time they have someone who struggles with needles, and pass the knowledge along. Story 16. Bribe yourself with fun things to do the not-so-fun things. Today I was tired after work but got a little care package in the mail, so I made myself go on the 2.5-mile run I didn't want to do before I could open the package. Now I'm refreshed and happy that I did the thing I was dreading, and I have a fun care package to open. Story 17. Not taking your cell phone into bed with you. After a while, you will sleep much easier without the distraction and blue light shining straight into your eyes before bed. Story 18. Stick to the same sleep schedule on your days off that you follow on days when you have to be somewhere at a specific time, like school or work days. I spent my whole life sleeping until noon on weekends, thinking I was storing sleep in some imaginary sleep bank. I recently started waking up early on weekends, and now I don't have trouble waking up when my alarm goes off during the week. Plus, I have all this extra time to do stuff because I'm not sleeping all day. Story 19. You are not hungry, you are thirsty. I would eat a big meal and wonder why I still felt hungry. It is because I was not drinking a glass of water with my meal. Now, if I notice I am hungry after eating normal portions, I have a glass of water and wait 5 minutes before I continue eating. Story 20. It is better to lose a second of your life than to lose your life in a second. People on the road need to just slow down a little. It will save your life. Story 21. Try killing roaches with soapy water in a spray bottle. It sounds useless, but it works better than any insecticide I have ever tried, and it is non-toxic and really easy to clean up. Story 22. Give up caffeine to help with anxiety. I gave it up to help with my vertigo years after this was first suggested to me, but it did help. I'm still anxious, but I'm not reacting to it like a hummingbird on cocaine anymore. Story 23. Never take Interstate 90 through Chicago, my sister said to me in 2002. Yeah, okay, thanks, was my reply. In 2004, just over the border of Wisconsin, we stopped for gas. We were on day 3 of our drive back from Yellowstone and had been on the road for almost 2 weeks in total. Funds were low, and there was nothing left for another hotel that night. It was 11 a.m. Our calculations before GPS had us home at about 1 a.m. We looked at the map, saw the upcoming highway split, and were debating between heading straight for Interstate 80 or staying on Interstate 90. Well, the last sign said 90 minutes to Chicago. We may as well have a deep dish pizza for lunch. Plus, it looks like a more direct route. Mistakes were made. At 3 p.m., we had admitted defeat. There would be no lunch. The infinite traffic wouldn't allow for it. By 4 p.m., my will was broken. I pulled the parking brake, opened my door, and walked from the middle lane to the ditch just after a bridge to relieve the pressure in my bladder. Shortly after, we decided, forget this. Let's just get off here. That too was a mistake. The signs were in Spanish, the route back to the highway eluded us, and we weren't even sure what time zone we were in. We asked a guy at the corner at a red light, "Hey man, what time is it?" I'll never forget his response, "Your mother." At 6:30 p.m., we finally drove past what is now Guaranteed Rate Park, fully immersed in Chicago rush hour. An hour later, we crossed into Indiana, broken people. We had an utterly forgettable pizza, got back on the road, and endured a drive home that lasted well past dawn. I told you to never take Interstate 90 through Chicago, my sister said to me when I told her our tale of that day. She was right. I should have remembered that. Story 24. If you feel like quitting, Then just tell yourself that the story doesn't end this way. Sounds cliche, but you decide when your story ends when you stop trying. You may fail, but you will not fail today. Don't let the story end this way. Story 25. I suffered severe insomnia for years. Someone told me I should get up an hour earlier, go for a 30-minute run in the morning, then do yoga for 15 minutes before showering and getting ready for work. It seemed ridiculous, but I decided to try it for a month. I haven't suffered from insomnia since. I have way more energy, sleep better, and feel better. It's amazing. Story 26. Teacher here. When you're texting or emailing between colleagues, friends, and so on, don't put anything you wouldn't say to their face in writing. If you have it in writing, they've got something physical they can hold against you or gossip about. Even if the door is closed, speak quietly if you're going to vent. Your coworkers can probably hear you clearly down the hallway if you're complaining after hours. Take it down to a whisper. Copy your administrator on every email asking a professional question to anybody else or in any conversation in which the slightest bit of conflict could arise. If you don't trust one of your coworkers, don't say a word to them beyond basic greetings. Trust your instincts. Sit quietly in the lounge at lunch. If you think something is wrong, speak up. You probably aren't the only one to notice, and your voice does make a difference. Story 27. Clean as you cook, wash dishes right away, and spend 10 minutes every day walking through the house picking things up and organizing. So much better than hours of cleaning on one day. Story 28. Pull up your socks. Literally. When you're feeling tired and still have 2 hours left before you can go home, sit down, take off your shoes, and literally pull your socks up. I dismissed this idea forever until I tried it. It's actually a nice little pick-me-up. Story 29. Wash your dishes immediately after using them. It really helps avoid unnecessary clutter and you ending up like this. Story 30. When you are trying to fall asleep and your mind is racing, thinking about a million things at once, making it impossible to fall asleep, do this. 1. Pick a letter of the alphabet. Count to 8. When you get to 8, think of a word that starts with your letter. Count to 8 again. Think of a different word that starts with that letter. Repeat as needed. You will distract your brain and bore it to sleep. Story 31. I had a problem looking at people's shoulders while they were speaking instead of their face. I told a coworker my problem who said, "Well, just look at their ears. Nobody can tell the difference." Life-changing, seriously, no one can tell the difference. Story 32. My mom told me to spend good money on the things that separate you from the ground. Tires, shoes, and a mattress. I finally bought good, not cheap shoes, and life was significantly better. They last so much longer, and my back and posture improve too. She's not wrong about tires and a mattress either. Story 33. Going to therapy. I'm a guy. I'm emotionally stable, so I thought it was a pointless idea. I went with my ex-girlfriend in order to work out problems in our relationship, mostly on her end. I learned so much about myself and got some amazing life advice. 10 out of 10. Story 34. Put on your own oxygen mask first. You can't help anyone effectively if you're not okay yourself. I was always self-sacrificing to the point of being hospitalized for exhaustion. I'd always been told to give until it hurts and then push through the pain to give more, and so that's what feels natural, and anything else is pure selfishness. A great therapist told me that I'm good at helping, but I have to be at least at a baseline before I'm effective, and oh, it makes everything so much better. Story 35. My doctor told me when I feel anxious or something like that to wiggle my toes and count them for every wiggle. It is something that distracts your mind, and you can do it anywhere because it just means moving your toes. I am fairly new to Reddit, and I just got a silver. Thanks, guys. I got a gold. Wow, this is cool. I never had this before. Thank you guys so much. Story 36. On my wedding day, my grandmother said to me, "Never do anything around the house that you don't plan on doing for life." At the time, I thought it was terrible advice. When I was mowing the lawn at 7.5 months pregnant, I got what she meant. Story 37. Drink less caffeine. I didn't realize how much it affects my mental disorders, such as anxiety, depression, and attention deficit disorder. until I started drinking less and realized I function way better when I don't have a soda or two every other day. Many people are saying it could be the sugar, but I always have diet soda. I will admit that sugar and soda, diet or not, aren't healthy, but there shouldn't be sugar in diet soda. My parents both have caffeine sensitivity, so I probably have really high sensitivity. Even if it's one soda for 3 days, the first day I stop having soda, I get a headache. Story 38. Learning all the scale positions on the fretboard felt pointless, to learn more than one way to play the same thing. Then, 10 years later, I sat down and decided to learn them, and it blew my mind. Everything clicked, and all of a sudden, I had a frame of reference for all the theory I've heard over the last decade. My perspective changed from, I have to memorize all this boring stuff and I don't know why I'm doing it instead of just playing. Why do I have to do it the way theory tells me to? To learning these things isn't meant as a punishment. It's just the standard most people have agreed upon to communicate about musical ideas. It's like everyone agreeing to use the alphabet and grammar in order to facilitate communication.